And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and these are interesting times that we live in. Things are changing very quickly, and one of the things that is changing the quickest or causing things to change the quickest is AI, or artificial intelligence. It is certainly making things interesting in this world we currently live in, and yes, even with Magic the Gathering as it happens. And I have a patron who decided to do a little experimentation with Chat GPT and asked it, so it being an artificial intelligence, I don't know that much about it. It's an artificial intelligence program of some sort. They asked Chat GPT to make them a commander deck. Unbeknownst to me, they just did it of their own free will. I didn't ask them to, but they posted it on the Discord and asked me what I thought of it. And I thought this might make for an interesting video. I mean, it is something that does affect the commander format and Magic in general, that you can just go out there and ask an artificial intelligence to make you a commander deck. And of course, as someone who does this sort of as a living, I would consider myself to be a little bit of an expert anyway. I think that having an opinion on this is pretty important. They actually, I had a couple patrons that thought it would be a good idea for make a video about this, and that is what I am doing. And I am going to do it in a way that I would normally do on my channel or for any of my patrons, which is to just analyze the deck that was made by this AI. And I'm going to do it like I normally do in my Deck Doctor videos. If you've ever watched, I've put a few on my channel. I do it on my Patreon all the time. I just get deck lists submitted to me from my patrons and I analyze them and I talk about, what could be fixed and what could be changed and what could be added. I'm pretty curious to take a look at this deck. So first of all, they asked to make a particular commander deck with a particular commander. I don't know if you could just say make a commander deck. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But they asked for a particular commander, and the commander that they asked for was Commander Isha. 2 white bird soldier. 2/4 flying protection from creatures. Certainly an underwhelming commander, not one that is very popular in the format at all. I've never seen a Commander Isha deck myself. Why they chose that one, I don't know. They're sort of after my own heart with regards to using underwhelming commanders. Obviously, they were just curious, right? So they asked ChatGPT to make them a Commander Isha deck. Now, before I look at their deck, that computer's deck, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to do the analyzing here myself. So I'm looking at this commander, and I mean, it's not great. I will be honest, certainly underwhelming. Protection from creatures is obviously the thing you're going to build around here. Your commander is a bird and a soldier. Those are two, there's a lot of tribal support there. I certainly would put a few in here without a doubt. Definitely the protection from creatures is the big one. And protection from creatures is going to be helpful in a couple of ways. I mean, can't be taken damage from creatures. That's probably the biggest one, right? I made a video all about protection. You can't put aura and equipment on there. I don't think that's ever going to be a thing unless somebody has a bestow creature that they cast on your commander. That might be the one situation. Combat is going to be the big one, obviously. Targeted abilities as well, although you don't see a ton of targeted abilities from creatures in commander. If your opponent has maybe a creature that's throwing damage around, that is a possibility. So your commander's protected from that. Maybe a Beguiler of Wills, gaining control of target creature, that kind of stuff. Your commander will protect it from that. Or maybe a Rubinia deck, something like that. The big one is the combat. Your commander is essentially unblockable. That is the biggest upside to protection from creatures. I guess it's also a fantastic blocker because you could just sit there and block for days. Also with flying, so it makes a fantastic blocker, and it also is going to guarantee you get in for damage. So the combat theme is definitely what we're going to be wanting to do here. You probably would want to give your commander vigilance, which of course white does really, really well, because that ensures you can do both things. You can have a fantastic blocker always up, and then you can always be attacking. I would likely say we want to be in the Voltron strategy here. That's my first analysis of this commander. Let's see what ChatGPT said. Creating a commander deck with Commander Isha as the commander can be a fun and challenging endeavor. I guess that's true. It's kind of funny that you're making a commander deck and your commander is actually named Commander. Commander Isha is a powerful creature with protection from creatures. making her difficult to deal with in combat situations. I find it interesting. I mean, I'm analyzing a whole bunch of things here. I find it interesting that they know the gender of the it's a magic card, right? But they know the gender of this creature. I wonder where they would have gotten that from. Anyway, here's a deck list that focuses on utilizing her abilities and building around her as a commander. They also put here at the bottom, use Commander Isha's protection from creatures to your advantage, making her an excellent blocker against creature heavy strategy. Well, that's exactly what I said, right? Yeah. Build a board presence with powerful angels. Angels that synergize well with Isha's protection ability. Okay. You're losing me a little bit there. Such as Avacyn, Angel of Hope, and Archangel Avacyn. Hold on. Archangel Avacyn. Okay. We'll have to see here. So the idea is you're giving your commander even more protections, like making it indestructible. Okay. Control the board with with removal spells like Swords to Plowshares and Wrath of God to maintain your position as the dominant force. Okay. That's fairly generic. I would say for me, Wrath of God is not a board wipe I would ever find room for in a deck because I always want a board wipe that's going to give me an advantage. I guess if your commander was indestructible, that would be the advantage. Take advantage of White's life gain and protection spells to prolong the game and outlast opponents. I mean, that's not bad. That's not a bad strategy. I would say that sounds very generic. That to me very much sounds like someone who has never played Magic before quickly looks up what White does in the game of Magic, what it's good at, and then sort of throws that in there. That's what that sounds like to me. Adjust the deck list according to your preference and the specific dynamics of your play group. Enjoy commanding your army of angels with Commander Isha at the helm. This is funny. And I should also note here, it says lands. Add your preferred mix of plains, utility lands, and mana fixing lands. So it didn't actually put the lands in this deck for whatever reason. Interesting. It just says add your preferred mix of plains, utility lands, and mana fixing lands. So again, the mana fixing lands is a weird thing to throw in there. Since it's a mono white deck, you don't need any mana fixing lands. Your plains are the mana fixing lands, right? So not sure that fits. Let's take a look at the deck. Okay, so here it is. And indeed, I was, so when they said Archangel Avacyn, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Archangel Avacyn is red on the back, right? Yep. So that can't go in the deck. So strike one there. And we also have a Chroma Angel of Fury, which is obviously that can't go on the deck. So let's put the strikes over here. See how many strikes we get. So already we're breaking the rules here, which to me, analyzing this whole AI thing, it seems funny to me that this seems like a very easy thing to pick up on for a computer. If I just had like Xmage, which is what I'm using here, I believe has a deck generation program that they use. And if you were to generate, like if you ever try to load, if I tried to load this deck into an Xmage game, it would very quickly tell me that this is not a legal commander deck because you have red cards. And I'm quite certain that the AI used in Xmage is not as powerful as ChatGPT. So it is very interesting that this happened. Like when I was reading the setup, I was like, Archangel Avacyn, wait a minute, right? I was like, isn't that the one that's red on the back? So we got some issues here already. The other big one is as I say all the time, and that's why I like to do it like this, the mana curve is pretty brutal here. Now, obviously, we don't have any lands, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw plains in here just to give us a better look-see. We won't worry about utility lands. And I just want to, and here's something else I'm curious about. How many land slots did they leave open? Which is, and they left a lot. As someone who's built a bazillion decks, I know that 65 is the number I aim for. Right? Because 65 puts me at 34 lands, which is what most people think that's crazy to put that little amount of lands in there. Works for me, just saying. Again, if this is what your deck looks like, and I'm going to give deck building advice as I typically do when I do my deck doctors. If this is what your deck typically looks like, and you have, let's shrink my head here, you have 6 cards in the 7 mana slot. As I've said before, I rarely will I ever have, maybe have one, maybe 2 cards that cost more than 6 mana. Look at how many this guy's got, right? So maybe that's why you need so many lands, and maybe that's why they left so many land slots. For me, I don't have that usually. I usually have 1 or 2 cards that cost more than 6 mana in my decks. So 34 is enough for me. I don't like lands are just dead draws after like turn 7. I don't want to see lands off the top. Plus, you're usually drawing. You have those big swings of drawing cards later in a game, so you're usually going to end up with a land or two in when you do that anyway. I often, like when I'm playing like my Shanna deck or any deck where I have huge, my Abishon deck, any deck where I draw like 7, 8, 10 cards at a time, I'll just end up having lands in my hand for like the rest of the game that I cannot even play. We're way over here. Like this is let's see how many lands we end up putting in. I'm going to fill it up, right? Because of course we have to put these back. So let's temporarily put these back because they had them, even though of course they're not supposed to be in there. But I just am curious to see. 41 lands. That is absurd. Even in a landfall deck, I would not have that many lands. So yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, 65 is usually the number for me. Let's put these back over here. Okay, so yeah, 41 lands is absurd. Definitely, even with this ridiculous mana curve, that's absurd. What's more important? I mean, sure, you'll make a land drop every single turn, but it's still going to take you 8 turns to cast your Avacyn or 9 turns to cast your Ray of Dawnbringer. This is why ramp is so important. Which, I mean, you got Soul Ring, no Wayfarer's Bauble. That would be an auto include for me in a mono white deck. Of course, white does ramp fairly well. We got land tax too, but land tax doesn't get those lands into play, right? It only puts them in your hand, which that's already likely not going to be an issue. You need actual ramp. Like actual ramp means I'm putting lands directly into play at a rate faster than my land drop per turn. And there is, I think, almost none here. Again, if you include mana rocks, there's almost none of those. There is only 4 cards in the 2 slot. I don't know if I've ever seen a deck that has that little in the 2 slot. That's horrible. 4 is the highest, which is bad. Again, I typically like to see 3 as the highest, 2 as the second highest. If my 2 and 4 are tied, like I'll have like maybe 17 threes. If my 2 and 4 are both at say 13, that's okay. I will, but I try not to have my 4 higher than my 2. That's problematic. You can definitely run into some issues there. 2 is like the lowest. This is absurd. Your 1 is, what is your 1 at? 6. So your 5 is higher than your 1. That's bad, bad, bad. All like the mana curve here is absolutely brutal. There's no way you could try someone. I'll put the actual deck list that was made. Obviously, these cards can't be included. I'll put the actual deck list in the description, and swapping out these cards for something else. You can, like, maybe a couple mana rocks. You could try running this deck and see what happens. Like, just use a digital version on X-Mage or whatever you happen to use and see how it works out. I do not think it's going to work out well. Look at the 7s, the 8s, right? So that's a big if I was grading this, not too good so far. As I said, I would have put like Vigilance is a big one. They even mentioned that whatever. It even mentioned that in the description about the blocking creatures. Yeah, exactly like I would have said. So what you need is something that gives your creatures vigilance. Giving all your creatures vigilance would be ideal. Like the angels thing is a little weird. You could do like Archangel of Thune. What? Sort of generic angels here, which is not very good. Like Archangel of Thune has lifelink. So it is, you can get in for damage with it and put a counter on all your creatures. You probably, if you're playing angels, Baneslayer Angel also has lifelink. Liar Dawnbringer also has lifelink. So it is problematic at best. I'm going to have to go through every card here. But yeah, the big standout here for me is that the mana curve is atrocious. absolutely brutal. It's likely that these cards over here you might never actually even be able to cast, because not only is your deck incredibly top heavy, but you have, like, there should be way more cards here, and most of them should be ramp. It should be Arcane Signet, Liquid Metal Torque, Ornithopter Paradise, which is also a flying creature. Any 2 mana rock can go in here. Even like Marble Diamond or something. Fill this up. Gift of Estates. Again, that's not actually ramp, but you can go like Wayfarer's Bauble is a for sure. I almost always put Burnished Heart and Solemn Simulacrum in my mono colored decks, although I'm definitely moving away from Burnished Heart, as I already talked about in the video. Went absolutely insane with the swords here. Again, this is what I would typically see in a, I don't want to say newbie, but newbie. It's a newbie thing. It's I'm new to the format. The swords, I heard the swords are really good. Let's throw all of those in the deck, right? I see this and I'm like, someone who's never played Magic before or never played Commander before is making an Aisha deck. This is the first thing they do, is throw all the best swords in there. And War and Peace, yeah, like that's not even a great one. Truth and Justice is, again, doesn't really fit the theme of the deck at all. Again, it feels like I just Googled what all the best equipment are and threw it in the deck, something like that, right? So, and Whisper Silk Cloak, this is not even really needed. It's okay, but I wouldn't put a Whisper Silk Cloak in this deck, especially because it gives Shroud. Again, woo! Again, that's so bad it almost goes over here. To have all these equipment and then have a Whisper Silk Cloak, oopsie daisy. That's almost a wow, I can't believe you didn't catch that. Yeah, that absolutely doesn't go in the deck. And in fact, Lightning Greaves doesn't either. Big ol' whiff there. That's a huge mistake in my opinion. Okay, let's go through. I mean, Sarah Senate you could put in any deck. Again, you could do a little bit of Flying Tribal here. I would say Mono White is not super great for Flying Tribal. The only card that comes to mind is this one, Safara, which is probably a good fit. Tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying. Might be. I mean, in this iteration of the deck, in my iteration of the deck, I don't know if I would have 4 creatures with flying lying around. Again, I would do a little bit more Bird Soldier Tribal. Like, I mean, the soldier stuff is easy. You could fit a ton of soldier stuff in here. And that's probably, you know what you could do in this deck, funny enough? You could actually leave in the Whisper Silk Cloak and the Lightning Greaves, because what you could do is what did I even call it now? Super Voltron strategy. You could actually do that here. Because you have a commander with protection from creatures, you could do the Super Voltron strategy here. It would work. So Flowering of the White Tree, like Flowering of the White Tree for sure goes in here. Although I will say, again, for anyone actually wanting to build this deck, your commander does have a power of 2. So not bumping your commander could be beneficial, because then you could play Dusk Dawn, stuff like that. But I think likely you're going to want to bump your commander's power. This makes your commander into a 4/5 with Ward 1. Of course, right? I still would probably put in, again, even though you're going to be doing anthems and swords and whatever, I still think Unstable Glyph Bridge is a great, again, I still would do that a little bit. This is a great board wipe. The backside also fits nicely here. So this comes into play. I choose my commander and keep my commander around and destroy everything else, right? Sword of the Animus, sure. Or Silence, again, kind of feels like someone just Googled what are good commander cards and just put traditionally older, like I haven't seen Aura of Silence. It's great. I'm not saying it's not great. It's fantastic. It's a very stacksy card that, you know, it's just one of those cards that people hate playing against, and it's just going to make you the arch enemy. So that's why, you know, a lot of people have gotten away from it. It was a super popular commander card. I saw it all the time when I first started playing. Hardly see it at all anymore. Generous Gift. There, you get a check mark for that. That's absolutely got to go in the deck. I'll just say probably not enough removal. You got Path. Again, someone Googled what's the removal I should put in my mono white deck. That's what this feels like. Path, Swords, Generous Gift. I just made my video about Swords to Plowshares. Well, you guys can watch my opinions on all of that. Am I going to take Swords out of my deck? Still not sure. Still on the fence about it. But obviously white has such, one of the biggest advantages, in my opinion, for having any mono white deck, regardless of the strategy you're doing. I have 2 mono white decks, my Benny Brax deck and my Patron of the Kitsune deck. They couldn't be farther from, they're nothing alike. But all the removal is mostly the same because that's what white does best. White has all the best removal by far, to the point where I'm thinking of taking Swords to Plowshares out of my decks. That's how good it is, right? So being able to hit any target, white does that phenomenally well, right? We just got the new one, Unexplained Absence. And that other guy, actually, the elephant that I didn't even talk about because everyone was too busy paying attention, including me, was too busy paying attention to Unexplained Absence. Unyielding Gatekeeper, right? I mean, it's not as good, but it's pretty good. I'll be talking about that in a video coming up as well. So yeah, I think we went a little overboard maybe with the swords. I don't think, like, Light and Shadow's okay. The best part about Light and Shadow is the protection from white and black, because it is the most targeted removal is going to be coming from those colors. That's probably the best part about the, like, the gain 3 life is who cares, and getting a creature out of your graveyard is, I've seen people whiff on that so many times where they don't have a creature in their graveyard. So mostly the protection from white and black is the best part there. Protection from what red and white is good, but this sword is just, I probably wouldn't find room for that. I still really like Fire and Ice. Obviously 2 damage isn't super great, but it is nice and it's always usable. And the draw card, of course, is also, like, I really like Fire and Ice. It's still my favorite sword. I know everyone loves Feast and Famine, but I mean, it certainly is good. Ghostly Prison, it's always good, but feels a little bit like Googling those good white commander cards. Teferi's Protection. This is the one, and I got the Japanese version here. As long as it's your turn, Gideon is a 4/4 human soldier. I mean, it's a soldier, so it fits there. Indestructible. So it's doing the Gideon thing. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Gideon during your turn. Up to one other target creature you control gains your choice of vigilance. Okay, that's actually not bad, because we can give our commander either vigilance, which we want. Lifelink's not bad either, but likely you're going to do the vigilance so that, again, you can leave your commander as a blocker. Or if you're planning on casting a board wipe on your second main phase, you give your commander indestructible. That's actually not bad. I would never put it in the deck because I don't do Planeswalkers, but it is actually a pretty good fit here. Angel of Finality, sure. We need Graveyard Hate, why not? Sure. I mean, it is an anthem for our creatures, and also, does the pay life or sack creatures thing hurt us? I haven't seen anything yet, so likely it doesn't. Angelic Destiny, which they obviously put this in just because it says angel on the card. Again, that seems like a little bit of a, that's definitely an AI thing. Enchanted creature gets +4. I mean, it's not bad. Making it an angel is who cares. I mean, I guess it does work if you have, like, your Lyra in play or something, but yeah, I would definitely not. I would take this out of the deck. You got too many 4s here anyway. Archangel of Ties, okay. I mean, these are all good cards. We're not doing an angel theme here, but they are good cards. Day of Judgment, if I had to pick an unplayable card, this would be it in the commander format. I don't like to use that word, but if I had to pick one, it's Day of Judgment. I don't even play Wrath of God. I never have put Wrath of God in a commander deck. Unstable, Glyph Bridge, Dust Dawn, something that advantages us, maybe by invitation only because you're playing like, I'm wondering why anybody would play Wrath of God over, like, Vanquish the Horde, which is likely only going to cost 2 mana, because you're worried about your opponents playing regenerating creatures. I mean, I guess it's a possibility, highly unlikely. Day of Judgment is, I mean, I can think of a dozen, and I'm not exaggerating, board wipes I would rather play over Day of Judgment. I mean, every single set we get a new one. Yeah, that definitely goes out. Like, this definitely goes out. This definitely goes out. Target creature gets +3. I mean, I like the soldier token because that's what I would do more here, is the soldier theme, more than a little bit of bird tribal, a little bit, like, what's that card? I mean, there isn't a ton of mono white bird stuff, I don't think. What's that enchantment that gives, I can't even remember what it does. No, that's not it. Soul Catcher's Airy, right? Whenever a bird is put into your graveyard, whenever it dies, put a feather counter on it. All birds get +1. So this would work. I mean, you would need other birds in the deck because you obviously don't want your commander dying all the time. But I mean, that's an example of a card that would work. There's a little bit. There's not a ton. I mean, there's the one guy that gives an anthem to all your birds and an anthem to all your soldiers. I think that's probably an auto include in here. I mean, he's expensive. I would definitely go down the bird This guy, right? Avon Brigadier, yeah. So I've got to check the updated wording here. Other bird creatures get +1/+1. Other soldier creatures get +1/+1. So that would give our commander a +2/+2 because, of course, it's a bird and a soldier. That I think is probably like I would put this in the deck over pretty much any of these angels. Linvala, again, it's always good. This is why it's so easy to play Angel Tribal because all of these are just great in any commander game. So I mean, it is good. Oh, Gisela, we missed, and I bet you he didn't put the other one in, did he? Oh, he did. He put it, whatever. Bruna, yeah, okay. So they do have those two. Like, yeah, I mean, you could put it in there. It's not really fitting anything we're doing here. I would probably not include either of those. Restoration Angel, I mean, just saying, Restoration Angel in a Angel Tribal deck is terrible because it doesn't blink other angels. So awful fit. We'll take that out. Return to Dust is, I don't want to use the U word, but for me, there's zero chance I'm gonna, like, how are you not going to play Unexplained, Absence over this now? Like, funny enough, I just made a video talking about how Return to Dust is a card that I've taken out of all my decks. And that was before Unexplained Absence comes out. So yeah, this is absolutely gone. Even Excise the Imperfect, which is likely a card that I'm probably going to end up taking out of all my decks, is better than that. Smothering Tithe, sure. No, I wouldn't play this. This is a man. Does anyone play this in the Commander format? This is, if I was doing Angel Tribal, I might find room for this. Maybe White is so good at removal, I would not. No, not doing enough lifelink to warrant that. Baneslayer Angel, again, is just a fantastic creature. It used to be one of those creatures that people would just shoehorn into all their decks because it was so good. Yep. Fumigate. Nope. We're not in a, I mean, I guess if you were doing I would not do the life gain theme here. I actually still have Fumigate in my Patron of the Kitsune deck, believe it or not, because it is a life gain deck. So I leave it in there, even though there are better options for board wipes. Certainly there are better options here. During target opponent's next turn, creatures that player controls attack, destroy target. I mean, you could. The force attack thing is interesting because, again, if your commander's left up as a blocker, you could use it as creature removal. It's kind of funny, right? Because you force that creature to attack Gideon and then block with your commander. And then maybe you could just use the -2 on the next turn if you can't kill it in combat. So that's interesting. I definitely would not think to include that. Feels like someone Googled what are all the best white planeswalkers and just threw them all in the deck. It kind of feels like that. Definitely don't want to do Angel Tribal. Route. This Chat GPT is from like 2011 or something, right? What are all the best board wipes for white? That's what I feel like we're doing here. Or whenever Fumigate came out, 2015. The board wipe selection here is terrible. Austere Command, for sure. Maybe Farewell. I wouldn't do all the power 2 or less ones like Dust on Unstable Glyph Bridge. I would throw in a couple though because it could be very advantageous for you. Sphere of Safety. Come on, no. How many enchantments are in this entire deck? Let's quickly find out. Enchantments. Actually, there's a decent amount. Not enough. 8 is though not enough to warrant a Sphere of Safety. And we have enough creatures in this deck. There's only 19 creatures. I actually expected more. The fact that they're all up here. That's why. Again, what is with the board wipe selection here? Chroma's Vengeance. I mean, it's not bad, but way better options. There's Austere Command. Okay. I'm just going to leave that in there because that's, of course, going in. I don't mind this. It's likely we'll be bumping our commander's power, but it is possible that we can just get the big creatures and save ours, so we'll leave that in. And again, I would do the Soldier Tribal here, and that works really good here as well, so I would actually leave that in. Again, another commander card that I used to see all the time that I never see anymore. Okay, although we do like this. You know what? We got to get rid of 6s. I'll get rid of the Sunblast Angel. I guess you can keep the True Conviction. No. We have way better ways of dealing with creatures in white. No. I guess we'll leave that in. Okay. No, Platinum Angel. I guess we'll leave that in. I would plan on putting more birds in this deck, so we will have a fair amount of flying creatures. Avacyn is just good stuff. We don't need it. Acroma, no. And definitely not that there. Definitely fix the mana curve here. Everything you add would be in here, except for maybe 1/6. I would not put any more sevens in. Definitely you need more mana rocks. I would take out, like, I'm going to take out, let's do 35 lands. There's no way I'm going to put in more than that. So you have 20. I mean, I'm talking to this person like they're an actual person who actually cares about this deck, but there's 27 spots here, right? That at the very, like, the rest is okay, although I'm not in love with some of it. The 27 spots here, you have to put more removal, a couple of board wipes, more ramp for sure. There's like no mana rocks in this deck, but just Wayfarer's Bauble, regular old ramp, a few more removal options would be okay. And then Bird and Soldier Tribal, I would fill up the rest of the deck with maybe a couple more equipment. I'm not in love with the swords. I think there might be some better options. Again, Vigilance is really important here, I think. So I would definitely want Vigilance on my commander, because I can attack and then save it as a blocker is really, really handy in this situation. There you go. That's what I would do with this deck. So there you go. Interesting endeavor. I was very curious, when my patron posted that on the Discord. I glanced at it quickly and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to actually do this just like I do with my deck doctors. I literally did it the exact same way. In fact, at one point, it actually felt like I was fixing a real person's deck there. But I'm fixing what I would do. I'm taking out the cards I would take out, add in whatever, making suggestions. But of course, we have right out of the gate a few big flubs there. We have a couple of red cards in a mono white deck, which you can't even do, right? So those definitely go out. The equipment that gives Shroud also, again, it just feels like someone Googled what are the best equipment in the Commander format and threw in Whisper Silk Cloak, Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, Sword of the Animist, and then a bunch of the Sword series, because those would be probably likely the most popular or highest rated equipment. It feels a little lazy, and just going with the Angel Tribal is like, not sure I would go that route. That seems a little weird. You could definitely, like, I left a bunch of those angels in, but you could definitely take out all of them and just put in birds and soldiers. So that's probably likely what I would do more, because it benefits your commander, whereas the angel tribal stuff doesn't benefit your commander at all. So that's a little weird. Anyway, that was interesting. Again, I'll throw what was given to me. I will throw in the description if you guys want to check it out. I'm not sure if anyone's actually done this a whole lot yet, at least as far as content creators go. It is my first endeavor into this whole AI chat GPT thing. I wonder if anyone's going to be running around making commander decks with AI. If I had to give this a grade, not great. Not great. That to me, again, even if you took out the cards that you absolutely can't play, the red ones, that looks like a really, really bad deck to me. It looks almost unplayable. Way too many lands, first of all, and the mana curve is ridiculous. So you would likely be not doing very well in a whole lot of games, in my opinion. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below, though. That is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.